Good evening. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to our masterclass, Supply Chain Integration for Business Success. My name is Saloshini Naidoo, and I'm going to be with you for the next hour, and we're going to talk supply chain. Today's class or masterclass, today's discussion is going to be quite a bit around supply chain integration and what does this mean for business. So I'm going to take you through the agenda, but I just thought maybe I can just give you a little bit of insight of who I am, as that then will know who's sitting on the other side of it. Okay, so I'm Saloshini Naidoo, and I've been across many industries, many businesses within supply chain for just about over 2 decades. Supply chain all the way from quality, technical, to innovation, to, and more recently, procurement logistics. So I've got experience across a number of different industries like your pharmaceutical, packaging, FMCG, food and beverage. Yeah, been around a little bit. More recently, guys, I've been working in consulting advisory and then just working with business schools, sharing industry insights and using all the experience. So tonight what we're going to do is we're going to have a good interactive discussion around supply chain, its integration for the success of businesses around. And please engage. Please go ahead and ask questions at the end, or put in questions should you have them, and so forth. Okay. At some point, I am going to switch off my camera just for the bandwidth. So please bear with me. I'll keep it on for the next couple of minutes, and then we'll switch off from it. So on today's agenda, we're going to look at what is supply chain management and what's its role in business. You will find that not so long ago, supply chain management was newish, and people just didn't understand completely the role it could play in business. And that's what we're going to look at here today. We'll move on then into the innovative trends and technologies of the supply chain and what does this mean for businesses as a whole. We'll unpack some of the current challenges that supply chains experience right now, and obviously it impacts businesses, industries, economies, and what sort of countermeasures and risk identification and mitigation do we put in place. And we'll then close up with building resilience and sustainability for businesses through supply chain. And at the end, I'll hand over to all of you for any questions that you might have, and we'll take it from there. Okay, all good. So I'm going to switch off my camera for now, so that we can actually save on the bandwidth, and we'll take it through from there. Guys, I just want to reiterate as well that I am able to see your hand if it's raised, or you can put some stuff into the chat, and we can answer questions. You also have a lovely opportunity at the end to ask questions, to share insights, because we're all going to learn. I really enjoy starting off supply chain with all of these businesses that are sitting here on the slide. Okay, so let's just understand supply chain is a function made up of a number of core functions, and it makes up quite a chunk of a business, right? Now, managing the supply chain end to end means from your customer to your customer, and supply chain within the business means that you are trying to reduce costs, increase savings by eliminating waste, by making sure that you have the competitive advantage and your customer keeps coming back. Yeah. And you're doing this for your business. But your business is competing in a wider market in the industry. So so let's say, for example, if we take the retail industry, you can see on the left hand side, and the retail industry, if we're talking grocery, let's say there's Checkers, there's Pick and Pay, there's Spar, Woolworths and the likes, right? Now, if we are Woolworths as a business, our supply chain within Woolworths is making sure that we have the competitive advantage, and we don't make up everything because we are playing against other competitors within one industry, which is the retail industry. The retail industry in South Africa plays quite a big role in the economy of South Africa. So now it's within the country. So it's just amazing to understand that if I look after supply chain within my business plays in a bigger scheme of things within an industry. Industries are bringing in money for a country, either by exporting, or there's movement in that regard. And from a corporate perspective, a global perspective, we're doing it across all oceans. So it is huge, it is big. It also gives you a good idea of some of the players. It also tells us, look at the different industries that we are working through. You'll find from a supplier perspective, there's a lot of suppliers that supply more than one industry. If you take, for example, colors or flavors, you will find that they'll be in a FMCG, food and beverage, pharmaceutical. They feeding across number of industries. So that just paints a picture for what this looks like. Now let's just go and look at supply chain management in business. What is supply chain management? Well, it is the flow of goods and services, and it is about managing the flow. But you're not just managing the flow, because inside of this flow is production of or transformation of raw materials into a finished product. There is information that flows. There's finance that flows. There's people that are moving all of this. There's the infrastructure of the business. So managing all of that, that's just inside your business. You've also got customers, suppliers, you've got the government, you've got regulatory bodies. It's managing all of those things through processes that we set in for ourselves within a business. Now, if we are, for example, an ice cream producing business, and we know that we'll start here, let's start at the end here with the customer, right? The customer, which is Pick and Pay, Checkers, Woolworths, all of these guys, as well as other customers that buy ice cream, they are going to put together a sales forecast. And let's say it's a seasonal forecast for 2 quarters. And they're going to say to us, let's say, for example, we need 100 by 2 liters ice cream, vanilla flavored. That sales forecast comes through to our business. There's our business here. Our business then needs to unpack that, translate that sales forecast. Remember, they're saying 100 by 2 liter vanilla ice cream. We know that in every 2 liter ice cream, we use this amount of fat, this amount of milk. We need a 2 liter tub. We need a lid, which machines it's going to be made on. So we translate that sales forecast into a demand plan. And we look at this demand plan and we think about how much of inventory do we have? What do we need to place orders from our suppliers on? We produce, we send them to our distribution center. It goes to the retailer. Customers' orders are met. You and I go and buy our ice cream as consumers, and the information continues to flow. So what you will find then that in order for this to work well, in order for there not to be any obstacles and bottlenecks, we got to put in processes to ensure the customer's needs are met by understanding the customer's needs. And once we have that, we are able to work through the system. Is it easy? Is it simple? Absolutely not. The one thing I can tell you is that no 2 days in supply chain is the same, because you've got control over the things that you can do, but you don't have control over if there's a transportation strike, or if a supplier's business has, I don't know, caught on fire. Now they can't supply you. Or there's a global pandemic and the ports are closed. All of these things are going to create all kinds of obstacles that you're going to have to make a plan for. Robert Hanfield explains this supply chain definition really well. He does it really well. So this is what he says. Supply chain management is the active management of supply chain activities to maximize customer value and achieve a sustainable competitive advantage. So let's break that down. The first part of it is that it's active management. So you cannot manage this from an office. You cannot manage this from, we work remotely, but it's an active management because things are happening all the time. So let me put it this way. You place an order on Take a Lot today, at the time now is 20 to 7, right? And you go to sleep tonight. And whatever you are ordering from Take a Lot, they are looking in their distribution center to see if they've got stock. And let's say you and 5 million people like you place the order. Now, behind the scene, the wheels are turning. So they go and they put in the order and they pull it through their distribution. Their distribution is now placing a demand on manufacturing. And let's say the manufacturer sits in America somewhere. When they wake up tomorrow, or well, when we go to sleep, they are up. When they are up, they are busy working. When they go to sleep, we are up waiting for our product. So you can see that from a global perspective, supply chain does not sleep. It's 24/7 and it's across oceans. So it's an active management. All of the supply chain activities is everything I spoke of. And we do this to maximize customer value. That means customers in today's world are super, super, super fussy. Think about yourself. We want what we want when we want it. And if we don't get it, we will go shop next door. So we got to keep the customer satisfied. It's not just about qualifying for the order, but it's about winning the order all the time. And then achieve a sustainable competitive advantage. Because over and above that, we still got to be ahead of the game. We still got to have that competitive edge. Now, I spoke about the flow of supply chain where I said to you, it starts with the customer, it ends with the customer, right? So let's just talk about one or two of these things here. Customer puts in the sales order and you get a sales order from all of your customers. That sales order gets translated into a demand plan. That demand plan then sets the focus for what are we going to do. Procurement will look at that plan and they'll start creating a procurement plan because they need to find reliable suppliers for the raw materials. They need to make sure that they're negotiating the right price and they're setting contracts in place so there's a continuity of supply. Your inventory guys need to also make sure that they have space in their warehouse. They're managing the inflow and outflow of their product. So whatever's coming in raw materials and whatever's going to production to be produced. That shelf life is good and et cetera, et cetera. They need to manage the stock level. Production needs to also make sure that they've got what they need to produce on time, that they're not making waste because that's a cost, and that they have the people as well as the capacity in their factories and the availability of machines as well, right? And logistics. Now, not so long ago, logistics wasn't part of supply chain. They sat on the other side of the hole in the wall. And more recently, we've pulled logistics into supply chain because they're a very big cost component of supply chain. So logistics then is made up of warehousing and distribution. And that's about what stock cover should we have? What does it cost? Remember, if stock is sitting in a warehouse, it's net working capital tied up. And as a business, we know we need to have cash. So they're managing distribution as well, making sure that customers' needs are met and that goods are delivered on time in full. Now, all of this has to happen within our business. But just remember, customers can change their minds. Suppliers might not have material because there's a shortage. Breakdowns might happen in a factory. Trucks might not be available, or ships there might be port congestions. All kinds of things can happen, and we'll talk just now about some of the challenges. Now, when we are part of any business, we've got key performance indicators to measure, monitor trends so that we can improve. And supply chain is no different. Now, the objectives or the KPIs you see here on the right around quality, speed, dependability, sustainability, etc., I can actually put that into two buckets. So the first one would be efficiency, because as supply chains, we need to be efficient, meaning throughput. We need to have good speed to get out there in the market first, and also, within our business to actually produce well, right? Speed. And the second bucket is effectiveness. So effectiveness is about removing everything that doesn't add value, because that does not increase our effectiveness. It actually puts us in a bad space. Making sure that we can deliver in full, that we're dependable, we're flexible, that we're agile, we are reducing waste, improving quality. All of that will sit under adding value to the customer as part of our effectiveness. So those are the supply chain objectives that we look at. Now, will those objectives stay the same? They're going to change. Every year we get squeezed a little bit more to deliver a lot more for less, and that helps us to be more profitable. An important part of supply chain that I want to touch on here is your business levels. So a lot of us do understand that our leadership team, based on the vision of the business, create these strategies, 3 to 5 year plans, long term, and they get translated into a tactical strategy of how we're going to deliver. And then that moves down into an operational strategy with the actual doing of it. Okay. But I just want to spend a minute or two on this slide, simply because this is a very important component of supply chain. And we sometimes mess it up here, and we're trying to get the operations right. But the reason we're not winning is because we don't fully align it with the tactical and strategic component. So let's look at the business as a whole. Now, in any business, you've got a group of leaders, the leadership team, and they give the business direction. So they basically will say something like, let's stick with our ice cream business. We want to grow our business by 12.5% by 2027. So what have we done? We've set a strategy. This is what we want. This is by when we want it. Now, why do we want it? So that we have competitive advantage. We are the number one ice cream manufacturing business in the country, right? So what we want, when we want it, why we want it over the next 3 years. That's your strategy. you will notice that there's no how in the strategy, because the leadership team is giving the business direction. They've got people below them, which is your middle and senior management, to unpack the strategy into the how. And this unpacking into the how is then basically saying, okay, we need to grow by 12.5%. So we would probably look at a 5% growth in year one in 2025. Now, how do we do this? And part of your tactical how part is saying, marketing, 5%. What do you need to do? Go do that. Supply chain, 5%. And let's focus here because this is for supply chain. If we're going to grow by 5% in year one, knowing that we got 12.5% for 3 years, what does this mean for supply chain? What does it mean for our warehouse? Do we have enough space for raw materials coming in? For outbound logistics, do we have enough warehousing space? Do we have capacity in our machines to grow by 5%? At what speed we're going to produce? Do we have the right set of people to do this? Do we have the systems in place? So the how part is starting to take shape. And this is now when we go back to the strategy team and we say to them, this is what we have. In order to give you what you want, this is what we need, and this is what we can do. And once we get that signed off, we then bring it down into the operation team and we say, okay, guys, this is where we're going. This is how we're going to do it. And we start managing it, but it's a lot more short term. It's now short term. Now, a lot of times, guys, we find that we're trying to run with the day-to-day here, but a lot of it needs to be sitting here, the how part, because we're planning for the year, we're planning for the quarters, we're planning for the months. And operationally, it's your day-to-day, week-to-week, it's more scheduling. I also say that the tactical team is it's the center of the sandwich. So you're getting a lot of pressure from the top in terms of what we want, why we want it, when we want it. And we need to develop the how, tell the operational people what they need to do, measure, monitor, trend that data, and go back and tell the leadership team how we're doing and where we need help. So there's quite a bit of pressure from the top, and then it's putting sufficient amount of pressure at the bottom to deliver, and then it's all the way to the top. The thing you're going to find here is there must be alignment. So everything that we do, day to day, week to week, month to month, quarter on quarter, year on year, needs to fit in with the strategy of the whole business. Okay. Now, this slide talks about why supply chain is important to every business and what's its role. So supply chain is not about just making, producing, manufacturing. It's not just about moving goods. It's about giving the customer what they need, when they need it, at the right price, at the best quality. It's about keeping them satisfied so that they keep coming back. And that means throughout the supply chain, we need to collaborate. So everybody inside of the supply chain is an internal customer and an internal supplier at some point. And what that means is that if you can give your customer on time in full delivery, good quality, right price, no waste, good value. If you do this for all of your internal customers, it becomes quite automatic that your external customer is going to receive the same. So now you're not operating in chaos and then just giving the customer a pretty product. You're basically living the values that you are selling in your product, right? And supply chains increase profit for businesses. Supply chains reduce costs because if you can streamline your supply chain in ensuring that your processes deliver efficiency, deliver effectiveness, if you can minimize waste, reduce costs, if you can increase your cash flow, if you can reduce your risk, if you've got an integrated system where it's transparent and you can collaborate, and you've got partnerships with your suppliers, partnerships with your customers, you've got a good planning system, you're going to have that competitive advantage. And you can very nicely be industry leader within that industry and add value to the economy of the country you are operating in. And this is why it is so important to businesses. Now, it doesn't need to be a manufacturing business. For as long as you've got a business, you've got operations in it, whether you're in a consulting advisory business like me, whether you're in a production business, whether you're in a service provision business like a Stella, you've got operations, you've got supply chain, you've got customers, you've got suppliers. And this is what drives growth. Now, just remember, businesses today don't just qualify just to make profits. It's a triple bottom line. So if you want to do business with me as a supplier, I need to make sure that you are financially sound. I need to make sure that you are environmentally sound. You've got a good program. I need to make sure that from a social corporate responsibility, you are also in a good space. So people, planet, and profit is key. Supply chain, I'm going to show you just now, plays in all of those areas. Okay. All right, let's move on to the innovative trends and technologies. Okay. Now, we know that the way we did or the way we operated inside of our businesses, inside of our supply chains, even 10 years ago, is nowhere near how we work right now. 2025, and we've got change and we've got technology that is continuously improving and changing the way we think, the way we work, the way we deliver. Everything that we do is working in that regard. Okay, so let's look at some of the innovative trends and technologies throughout our businesses. Your ERP systems is a big one. This is your enterprise resource planning system. Now, these systems run a business. You will find that your whole enterprise and your resources, from your people resources to your financial resources to your information resources to your materials that come through, is sitting on one ERP system. And you are able to track data across the system. So let's say, for example, if I am the supply chain head for a business and customers are complaining that they're not receiving their goods on time, I can go into the logistic component of our ERP and look at what stock cover we have in the warehouse, how many trucks have left our warehouse, and then I might see we low on stock. So I can go and see what's happening in production. Why are they not producing? And then I can see we don't have stock on raw materials. I can then check with inventory and procurement. It's all together. It's all together on one system. So this allows us to problem solve. This allows us to dig in deeper. This allows us to work together as one unit. From a product process innovation point, so guys, in today's day, businesses don't compete with businesses anymore. Supply chains are in competition, meaning you and I can be in different businesses within the same industry and be competitors. But if I can get a better, unique product, a higher quality, and a lower price, right, to my customer, because I look into my supply chain and I develop processes and I'm more efficient and I'm more effective, so I'm reducing costs and I'm saving. And if I can pass some of that saving on to my customer, it then means that I've got competitive edge over you, my competitor. and we keep improving. So this is where your lean principles come in. The third one we look at here is your digital transformation. And with regards to your digital transformation, we're going to look at it a little bit more in depth now in the next couple of slides. But this has come full blast, right? We've got artificial intelligence, we've got machine learning, we've got AI-driven demand, we've got scenario planning tools that are in place. Businesses have AI-powered chatbots to help customer service grow. From an Internet of Things perspective, we got predictive logistic model. We are able to forecast customer demands before orders are placed, just based on the scenario, based on the data we have. We've got real-time tracking. We've got smart warehouses that have such good automation, they're able to pick and pack and sort, right? Companies like DHL, they integrate their Internet of Things for real-time fleet tracking. They are able to optimize on their delivery routes and therefore reduce costs. All of those things fit in there. If we talk about robotics and automation in supply chain is massive. We're able to do so much more with less, okay? Blockchain is another big one where we've got like, it's a decentralized digital ledger and there's transparency and we are able to do things a lot better, a lot faster. The last block here is on your green supply chain, right? And all of your social responsibility. So the big component of this is around the planet and the people. And how do we make sure that there's a planet for future generations? How do we manage the regulatory aspects that come in every other day? There's new regulations all the time. How do we use our branding to make sure that our consumers know how important this is to us? That sustainability is something that as a business we hold very close to us, okay? Now, with that, comes a lot of challenges. There's a lot of challenges that come through. But just before I go there, I just want to spend just a minute on this green supply chain, because I've had a lot of people come through from different parts of the supply chain talking about how expensive it is to maintain the greenness. Yeah. And what does that mean? Now, yes, we want to ensure that we managing our carbon footprint. Yes, we want to measure and keep our emissions low. Yes, we want to make sure that we are adding value to the environment and that there is an environment for future generations. But ladies and gentlemen, it comes at a massive cost. And the regulations that are in place, the legislation, the compliance, the governance that comes with it is a cost to businesses. Now, the whole thing around this is, how do we manage that cost? The cost of not putting it in place means that we run the risk of not being able to do business, right? And exactly how do we manage it and how do we make sure that we're playing our part in all of it? And that's a really very big thing to work through. So it starts in all the different functions. I just want to see if there is a slide with regards to that. Yeah, it's probably going to come up somewhere, but let me just talk around it here, okay? It starts within the functions within supply chain. So let's talk about procurement. Procurement, when purchasing and procuring raw materials, need to make sure that their raw material suppliers also fit in with the sustainability. So it's a sustainable procurement and sourcing. We want to make sure that for our product to hold up the brand reputation, that we are taking care of our environment, means we go all the way back to making sure that our raw materials are also sustainable, that it's eco-friendly, biodegradable material. We are partnering with the right people to make sure that's okay. So, for example, you'll find companies like Unilever and a few others that make sure 100% of the palm oil is sourced sustainably. Now, part of the sustainability, remember we said right here, was around the planet, but also around the CSR, the people component. And this is about the ethical parts of it. So if we go back into another part of your supply chain, when we are manufacturing, are we eco-friendly manufacturing? Are we ensuring that our logistics and transportation is also measuring and monitoring the carbon efficiencies, right? Are we optimizing on the route so we can save fuel and worry about the carbon emissions and things like that? Are we making sure that we've got reverse logistics in place? What about the people aspect, the ethical labor, about making sure that we are ensuring fair wage, safe working conditions, taking care of our employees, and also taking care of our communities, engaging with the communities, having a good social impact. So all of those fits in there. Now, why do we need to do all of that? Well, for the competitive advantage, to keep ahead, to make sure that there's an environment for our kids and their kids and so forth. All of that then plays a key role. I just wanted to bring that up simply because it's a big question. It costs a lot of money. And we want a return on that, and we want to understand what that looks like. Okay. So this slide, and I've been showing this, I've been tracking this well through all the supply chain classes that I'm in. You will find here we've got 2023 top 10 trends, and we've got 2024 top 10 trends, and the 2025 ones also out. So if we go back to 2023 and we just look at the top three, the third one was your supply chain risk and resilience in terms of a trend, digital supply chains, and then the big data and analytics. And artificial intelligence was sitting here at number 4. If we move into last year's top 10 trends, we will see that artificial intelligence moved up, big analytics came down, and digital supply chain moved to number 1. Okay? All right. Now, if we go and look at what's trending now compared to last year, well, you've got your big data and analytics that's sitting there, but you've got AI sitting at number 1, which was sitting at number 3 last year and was sitting at number 4 the previous year. So it's basically telling us that artificial intelligence, in terms of everything that we're doing, is trending right now in 2025. And that is ensuring we're keeping up. That is making sure that as businesses, like I said, businesses are not in competition, supply chains are. And how are we using AI within our supply chains to ensure that we've got that competitive advantage? Smart packaging, systems in warehousing, transportation. How are we utilizing AI to ensure that we are competitively at the edge and moving forward? So this is just some very interesting trends of what we are looking at. Okay, let's move into the challenges that we have. And I mean, the big ones that we've listed here, they pretty much the same. I think the challenges are getting a lot more, and you and I, ladies and gentlemen, are living through many of these challenges all at one go. They're coming from left, right, center, from every side. Global disruptions, all other kinds of risks, unpredictable demand, fussy customers, rising costs, the sustainability pressures like I spoke about now. So let's unpack some of these. Global disruptions, geopolitical tensions. You can see trade wars are on the rise. There's sanctions that are rising up as well. Yeah. We've got tariffs that increase costs. We've got disruption in our supplier networks. All of the trade regulations. These things are coming right through from different countries. And because we are so global right now, the disruptions affect, it's got such a ripple effect right through. You cannot afford your supply chain to stand for an hour even, because you can calculate what the cost of that is and the opportunity cost that you've lost. So that's just from a global disruption point of view. Now, from a demand, a volatile demand, and managing the risks that come through because the market suddenly shifts, repo rates suddenly go up, people don't have money for luxury spend because they got to pay a higher premium on their bonds and vehicles, etc. How do we manage that shift in demand? Or it could be things like inflation, fuel prices that went up, raw material shortages, labor costs suddenly gone high. All of those things are unpredictable. It can come through. And we've lived through so many unpredictable stuff in the last couple of years. The third one we look at there is your rising costs and your sustainability pressures, which I spoke about just now from a sustainability point of view. If you don't have the right environmental program running, if you don't have the right CRS program running, then companies don't want to do business with you. And that becomes a problem because you need money to actually run with these, and it's putting you in a bad space. Some of the other challenges we face is things like freight price increasing all of the time, port congestions, which is causing demurrage on our ships that we got to pay in dollars, changing consumer attitudes. Just think about something like the fashion industry. Every 3 months, there's a change, and what you did last month is not going. You can't do that anymore because it's changed so badly that you now need to keep up, right? E-commerce is the other one. All of the stuff where we've gone online, brick and mortar is not there as much anymore. This puts pressure on our supply chains right through, because now we're talking about delivering to consumer. Okay. The digital transformation, keeping up, the costs involved. We've got cybersecurity issues in that as well. Hackers, ransomware attacks, they disrupt manufacturing, there's data breaches, there's those kind of things as well. Poor infrastructure is a big one. Some cases, we want to grow our business by that 10%, yeah? But our machines are 60 years old within our factories, or our warehouse is in a very far off space that it's costing us so much to travel there. Then, of course, it's all your political and whatever's coming through from a regulatory point of view. There's a lot of uncertainty there. And because we're a global sort of space right now, there's cultural and language barriers that might also come through. I've put here on this slide just some of these challenges, into the different buckets from a compliance, from a complexity, from a volatile perspective. The one that is also quite relevant is talent. Retaining good talent is a challenge in supply chain, and it's an absolute fact. So people come into businesses and the pressure's on and they've got to do so much and they can't keep up, and retaining that talent then becomes difficult. Okay, how do we manage some of these? How do we work through them? Well, you will hear things, procurement will say to you that we can't have all our eggs in our one basket, so we've got to find alternate suppliers. We might find that because we're purchasing raw materials from China, can we have a local vendor that will hold stock for us? And we don't have to cover that in our warehouse, right? We'd have to keep our eye on supplier performance. We'd have to create risk management plans. And we'd have to use technology to help us identify the risks, understand the severity of the risk, look at what our exposure level is, and then put contingencies in place. Lean manufacturing, your Six Sigmas, your manufacturing excellence, those are never going to go out of fashion in supply chain. Because in order just to be agile, in order to keep your costs low and your waste low, your quality high and your savings high, then that's what we need. So some of the countermeasures is around that. Improve your supply chain capabilities. Get your processes up to speed. Focus on the automation. Focus on the business processes, on strategies in each of the core functions within your supply chain, because that's going to help you to be profitable. That's going to help you to have that competitive advantage. That's going to help you to manage your relationships better. And everything that we do is going to build into the profit and the sustainability of the business. So how do we stay resilient? Collaborate, learn, put in processes to create scenarios and understand some of the things that might happen, and how do we plan for that, to be proactive. Go into your markets and understand the different segments and their demographic points of view in terms of who are we serving, how do we go through that. Innovation builds resilience as well. How do we, because our supply chains are in competition, how do we optimize our costs? Not just squeezing suppliers for price, but also working through our manufacturing, our production, also working through our logistics, also working through technology and our systems, working through our people. How do we become more flexible? That builds resilience. How do we understand our customers a lot better so we can respond timeously? How do we recover from the risks faster, better, quicker, cheaper? All of those things. A resilient supply chain is built through significant enablers: people, process, technology, and we are governed by the compliances and the policies and the procedures. This helps us to work as one well-oiled machine where there's visibility and transparency. It helps us to manage the risks and control the business. It allows us to be flexible to and adapt to the changes that come through for whatever reason. And it allows us to manage our relationships through collaboration, whether it's relationships outside or inside our business. Okay. We want to be experts in all the functions within our supply chain. We want to be able to leverage our economies of scale with suppliers through our technology, through our warehousing. We want an integrated approach to supply chain sustainability to help our resilience. And we want to invest in digital technology and improve it so that we are able to work better. All of that then is around building resilience. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of our session, or that's the end of me talking. I'm going to hand over to you guys now. If there's any questions, if there's anything that you want to share, you want to ask, please feel free to do so. Okay. I can see a couple of questions on the chat, and I think a lot of them's been answered. right? Are there any other questions? Anything that anyone wants to share? Okay, so let me just go into the chat box again. And for the higher certificate in supply chain management, do we self-study, join classes? Yes. Okay, Clyde, looking for trends for 2024, number 10, move to number 2. It should be number 1 with AI. Yes, absolutely. So we can actually see how quick things are moving and how fast we need to keep up. Tapelo, I think your question was answered. What casual work can we do while studying supply chain management to get experience? Okay, so I think in terms of casual work, if you're looking for part-time work within businesses, then if you're lucky to jump on, there's a number of different opportunities, learnerships, or if you can get into something and just work part-time, that sort of thing, it might be fine. Um, it could be in production, it could be in logistics. I don't know what is out there at the moment, but I mean, any business you're going to go into is going to have some sort of supply chain to it. So you will definitely learn. Okay, what does supply chain open in terms of opportunities? Well, so supply chain opens up a whole lot in terms of opportunities. So if you think about all the functions within supply chain, you could work in logistics. Logistics is made up of inbound logistics, that's your inventory, warehouse. It's outbound logistics, your outbound warehouse, there's distribution, transportation in there, and that's just logistics. You've got planning, supply planning, demand planning. You've got procurement, and there's strategic procurement, there's operational procurement. You've got operations, packing, you've got manufacturing, and then of course there's the whole innovations part of it as well, which also now sits within a supply chain as well. So the job opportunity is endless, and over and above that, you've got a strategic component, you've got an operational component that make it up. Okay, a recording of this conversation of the I think Regent can arrange for that. It has been recorded. Brian, how difficult is it for new post-grad supply chain managers to enter the market after completing NQF7 at reputable companies? Okay, now that's a tough question because we've got a lot more people than jobs in our country. We know this, but with postgrad, if you go and you have a look at a lot of your supply chain opportunities, uh, everybody's got a degree right now, so your postgrad definitely opens up more avenues, more doors. There's also part of your postgrad, there's a research component, which is very much needed in all the different parts of supply chain. The one part I want to just say, inside of your supply chain, a very big AI component is business intelligence, right? And because everything is system operated, we want to continuously work through BI and analytics, sourcing through this data and looking for the patterns of what's to come is also important. So your postgrad is, I think, very key in today's world, and also looking for that difference that can be made. What is South Africa's client? What is South Africa's manufacturing capability within the global economy? So you will actually see that we do quite a bit of export More so in the agricultural side, and there would be a few other industries as well. Within the global economy, we, let's say, for example, if I give you a simple example like guacamole, that is your avo smashed up. 60% of that avo business is exported to your Costco's and to your M&S's and things like that. So obviously, we exporting, dollars are coming back into the country, and we have that manufacturing capability to keep up. South African supply chains are not in a bad space. They're actually very, very forward thinking in terms of, I mean, if you take your automotive industry, if you take companies like Toyota, where the lean principles have been adopted, through the Japanese standards, but FMCG businesses, food and beverage businesses like your Unilevers and things, will go and learn that lean concepts from Toyota and apply it within their business to improve their manufacturing capability, and they work globally as well. So there's quite a bit there that is happening. Okay. Is it really compulsory to do your honors in supply chain? Well, there's no compulsory. Like I said, it's the higher up in terms of your NQF that you go does help. It gives you that together with your practical training. It will work as well. So you need that theoretical, but you also need the practical to help through it. Morris, how do you avoid air freighting as a cost-saving exercise when sales doesn't forecast? This is the age-old question and always brings sudden requirements. Okay. So remember, if the sales forecast is not accurate, we know this, then we suddenly have to air freight things and it comes at a cost and everybody's running around trying to get it there. And this is, for me, what's very important is your S&OP, your sales and operations planning. Because then what happens here is you've got your sales team, you've got your operations team, you're working through an S&OP, you sign it off as a pre, you take it to the Exco team, they sign it off, and now everybody knows everything about the plan. So should these things come up, people won't do it more than once or twice because, heads are going to roll. So S&OP there, Morris, I think is key. Do all companies do it well? I think some companies have really got there, not everybody. How difficult is supply chain management as I am a first year? So Anonymous, I'm assuming you're talking about the academic side of it. I lecture on a few of those supply chain management modules, and it is so interesting. It is just so much fun because you're learning and I'm sharing industry experiences. So when you are able to take that theory and apply it because you understand where it's fitting into industry, it just makes it all the more exciting. When getting a job, experienced workers teach us or assist us with learning, as we already know, or are we to? Obviously, they're going to assist you. If you enter a graduate program, they will put you on a training trajectory, and obviously, it's not going to be a spoon feeding session. Just think about it. They want to see what you can bring to the party in terms of not experience, but out of the box thinking. So from things that you learn through your studies, and how do you apply what you've learned? What can you bring to the business? That's what they're looking at. Remember, there's governance. So you've got policies and procedures that you will follow. So you're not going to be left to, it's going to cost them money if you're just left on your own and you make a mistake. Okay, Mackenzie, what changes could increase revenue? I don't know when you say changes in which area, but people changes, process changes, technology changes, all the things I've talked about will increase revenue as you're reducing cost, as you're eliminating waste, as you're removing all the non-value adds. Is there need to do project management if I have a Bachelor of Commerce in Supply Chain Management? I'm not sure if there's a need, if it's an elective or not. I can't answer from that perspective. But if you're looking to do project management so that you get into the workplace and you're able to manage projects, that works. That will help, right? Biggest challenges do companies face in supply chain industries? It's all the things I've been talking about, the disruptions, the volatility, the political, the geopolitical problems, trying to get your product into a country and then it's sitting at the border, losing shelf life. Those are some of the big challenges. When our ports were congested because of the wars and the pandemics, and we had ships sitting there for a month, you are paying in dollars per day for the demurrage. Those are your big challenges. When suppliers can't supply on time, it puts you back and you could lose customers. All of those challenges come through. Okay. The tariffs that America has imposed on products, what are some of the strategies that supply chain can do to mitigate that risk? So now we need to look at, from a local perspective, what can we do? And if there's, you will find supply chain companies or businesses through their supply chain are also already looking at different ways of distribution. They're looking at better ways of working. So if I have to give you an example, like when we couldn't, when the sanction was on Russia and we couldn't get product from there, right? And we knew it was going to become a problem. Then you will look at which are the other suppliers we can get product from or we can export to. How will it go around? Which are the ones that are not getting charged the tariffs, and can we work through those countries to get our product in? There's always ways around it. Now, the really amazing part about supply chain, guys, is that it's not just manual work. There's a lot around strategizing and thinking outside the box and coming up with better ways of working. And that moment that you feel that you've made that saving or you've found another way of doing something and it still comes down to a saving is incredible because it affects the whole business. Okay. How do you identify and mitigate risks in a supply chain? Your risk register in supply chain needs to be live. So every single function within the supply chain, all your departments must have a live risk register. Whether the risks happened, might happen, might never happen, you identify them and you put them on the register. You start working through the severity of it, the frequency of it, how exposed are we to that risk? And then we start putting in actions that should that risk happen, this is what we will do. That's how we do it. Topic review for proposal for masters. Okay, I'm not sure how you want me to assist there. You probably have to speak to a supervisor that will help you with the proposal. And then, is Regent BA Supply Chain Management recognized internationally? And I'm thinking someone on Regent here would be able to answer that. Okay, I just want to go to the webinar chat. I've asked some of the questions here. Okay, so the record will be uploaded to the YouTube page, guys. You're going to have that. Okay. And it looks like I've answered all the questions. I've answered all of the questions regarding what I've shared with you today. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you. Thank you for accommodating me this evening. Thank you for all of the questions you've posed. And I'm very glad to have been part of this. Thank you very much. Do take care. Enjoy the rest of the evening and the week. And I'm hoping to cross paths with many of you in some of our supply chain sessions. Okay. Take care. Thank you. All the best.